Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm out on my walk and I wanted to talk to you about something that I've been thinking about lately that might be able to help those of you who are emotional eaters. And there's a reason why some people turn to food to self-medicate and others turn to drugs or alcohol or excessive exercise or eating disorders or any kind of other self-soothing technique. But for those of you who self-soothe with food, I think it's important that you ask yourself a couple of questions. One is, do I have a very sensitive nature? So, for example, do you find yourself getting startled easily or really annoyed by loud noises or loud voices or loud cars or loud crowds, things like that? That's just one example of something that's known as a highly sensitive person. There's a lot of traits to identify if you might be a highly sensitive person, but these types of people represent about 15% of the population. And they are different from most in their reaction to stimuli. So we're only going to talk about like what the very first sign, but it usually has to do with any kind of physical stimuli, like through your sensory perceptors, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your skin, etc. And if you are a highly sensitive person, chances are high that loud noises are very destructive to your sense of calm. You can be startled easily. You can want to escape from situations where there are too many people or too much noise. And I'll give you a couple examples. I've had 3 incidents in the past 48 hours, each with varying degrees of discomfort for me as a highly sensitive person who used to use food to self-soothe. And there's other reasons why you have cravings around that, but from the emotional standpoint, self-soothing with food is not uncommon. And you might be a highly sensitive person. So let's just talk about, I'll give you a couple examples of how this sometimes works. Good morning. So I'm out walking, and normally when people see me on the side of the road, they slow down. And there's no sidewalks where I live, so it's just roadway and wet grass, like on a foggy morning like this. But a couple days ago, I was out on a Sunday morning, and a man in a big, strong, loud black truck with a huge engine came blowing by me on the street. And I could hear him coming up behind me to the point where I stepped off the side of the road and kind of gave him that signal like this, hey, could you slow down, a pedestrian here. And because he was in his work truck, I was able to see the name of his company and the phone number. And when he didn't slow down or even really acknowledge me, I said, if I were the owner of that business, I'd want to know that a driver was being kind of reckless to pedestrians. So I called the number. Turns out that the driver was the owner of the company. And so his response was really antagonistic towards me. And I'm in my residential neighborhood where the speed limit is 25. And he says, I was going the speed limit. I was going 35. And you shouldn't really be calling people to harass them about driving the speed limit on their own street. And I felt like, this is my street too. And we have to share these streets. And you're in your great big truck and I'm in a little, person walking all alone on the side of the road. And I can't tell if you even see me. So I thought his response was really inappropriate. And maybe stupidly, I wrote a review because I felt like I was interacting with the owner of a business. But the man had a huge response to my review and then went over to my business page and retaliated against me on my business page when I was interacting as a private citizen, not as my business. So he doesn't know my business. But this is how... Either he's a highly sensitive person who's turned it into an aggressive scenario. Well, he's just going to go out and attack anybody who dares to, criticize him. So that one was really hard to deal with, and it took me a couple of days to kind of process that information. But what I'm saying is it all starts from this sense of being alarmed by loud noises and dangerous situations. The skin on the back of your neck kind of starts crawling, and you get the creepy creeped out feeling. But that was a really extreme example. Then a kind of medium example is just where, I'm walking out and this garbage truck, seems like no matter what street I turn on, this garbage truck is there, and it's loud and it's noisy, and I'm trying to listen to my podcast or whatever or record something, and I can't get away from this truck. And the first 2 streets I turned on, I was like, dang. And then I would change my direction, go a different way, and I'd turn a corner, and there was the truck again. But eventually it got to be kind of a wjoke. And the driver and I were signaling, like, hey, man, nice to see you again. And it became, sort of funny. But in the first reaction to it, I was a little annoyed and upset that this truck, this noisy truck, was so close to me, so big, so noisy, so mechanical, so stinky. It's most people wouldn't even probably notice that. A lot of people. But if you're among the 15% who are highly sensitive, these kinds of things happen to you all the time. A third example, this is all just in the last 24, 48 hours. A third example is that yesterday morning, my lawn guys came to cut the grass. And that noise of the lawnmowers is already really rough. And they used to come at 7 a.m. And I'm like, you guys, please don't come to my house until I'm up and running. Come after 9 a.m. if you wouldn't mind. They're like, sure, no problem. But then as soon as I heard them come, I ran outside. I said, hey guys, I just want to let you know I put some lights out in the yard last night, so I'll be careful of them. And they're like, oh yeah, we pulled them up, and here they are, all 4 of them, right here. I was like, you pulled up my lights? I like lighting. I like soothing lights. And so I said I spent hours last night placing those lights in my yard so that they wouldn't shine into my windows and they wouldn't hit me in the face when I was walking back and forth to my car, or other people on the pathway, or other drivers or other neighbors. I spent hours doing that, and you just pulled them up without. And he's like, oh, I'll put them right back. But of course he didn't put them back in the right place, And so that was sort of another example of the sensitivities that highly sensitive people have that other people just do not. And if you're among that group of 15% who might have the need to sort of self-soothe by using food, I want you to consider if this is you. And there is a sort of test that you can take to help you diagnose if you are part of this community. And it's not a defect that needs to be fixed. It's a biological, neurological condition that you're born with. It's nothing that you need to be ashamed of or apologize for. And there's in fact all kinds of really great strengths that you have as a result of it, but we don't get a lot of validation for it because the majority of the population does not live and sense things in the way that we do. So if you're using food to tone down, your sensitivity, or you're constantly being told that you're too sensitive, maybe we should have a talk about whether you're a highly sensitive person. So I wanted to give you that food for thought today. And next time you're out on the road, just, let people know that you don't appreciate them blowing by you on the street, but don't get them so mad that you feel like they're going to come back and hunt you down. So you got to find a happy medium, and don't punish yourself with food by eating and then creating more problems for yourself.